welcome back to Rue's Life, and I'm really excited to show you how much further I've got here over at the plot. So I'm still a very long way away from it being where I want it to be, but we're really making progress. So while we're here in the polytunnel, we had a visit from the lovely Jazz, who has the channel Alternative Smallholding. Although she doesn't make content anymore, I will leave a link. Go back and have a look at her videos. They were absolutely inspirational. She's a fantastic grower, so knowledgeable and such a lovely person. And they came over to see us and very kindly brought me, look at all of these gorgeous cobra climbing beans and scarlet kale. Whoop. Sorry, Scarlet Kale, I've just knocked you over, how ungrateful. And then this, which I'm not sure what it is, let's have a little look. Gomphora. And that's something I'm not familiar with, so I'll either ask Jasmine or I will look it up. But it was lovely to see them. We had such a lovely afternoon with them, it was really, really lovely. So here in the polytunnel, let's just move these across. I have set aside some plants here that are for one of my friends, my swim buddy Jules. So we've got some summer purple sprouting broccoli, some dwarf curly kale, some lucullus chard, some yellow chard, and a couple of tomatoes, a tigrella and a black Russian. And I'm looking after those until I give them to Jules to grow on at hers. And then let's have a little look at how everything else is doing. So my second sowing of the alderman peas is looking really good now, and it won't be long before I'll actually put that into the middle. I'll show you where the other peas are. So I've got that second flush. The white Lisbon onions, it's clearly not going to be my onion year, it just didn't germinate. And these are the straw flowers, so I need to find a place to pop those. And then other kind of non-starters, we've got some Lady Di runner beans, never came, the Rondo dwarf beans, which are my favourite, they just didn't germinate, and there's some Yukiki kiri squash in here that didn't germinate. And then the Italian red onion, I don't know if you can see, there's two. So it's just not going to be my onion year. And when I show you my other onions, you'll see why. I think I'm probably going to pull them up and cut my losses and make that space for other things. And then over here, we have got, let me just pull this tray forward. You can probably just about see it. So we've got lots of brassicas, chards, and some cabbages and some Madeira maroon beans. And they really are all now itching to get into a better growing space and out of these pots. So they've all been potted on a couple of times, but they're ready to go into beds. So I've been working really hard outside, and Chris has helped me immensely, and it's the first time I've ever really asked him for help. So apart from the structural things, I think I've mentioned that before, all the beds I've created myself and all the gardening, that's a big old wagon going past. And all the gardening I do myself, but the only way I felt I could get things back under control was to ask for some help, which I've done. So he's been working really hard on the pathways, and I've been working on the beds. And as I say, I'll show you in a little while. I think it may rain, so we'll try and get out in a minute. And I'll also show you what's going on in here. So let's get outside first before that rain comes down. I'm actually really hot already. It's 15.4 degrees outside and 19.8 degrees in here, but it's really sticky and humid, and it feels as though we're going to get a storm, and there's definite droplets of rain out there. So let's go outside. I'll show you what's been going on out there. We'll come back in, I'll show you what's going on here, and then I'm going to get on and I'll talk to you about what I'm going to do today. And just while we're passing this table, I have today finally brought all the geraniums that I've overwintered in the house on the windowsills over to the plot, and I'm going to get those into baskets, and I'm hoping to do that today. And here you can see, look, I've finally got the paths. So we've got a lovely run of path there, the one that I'm on here, a little bit at the bottom there, the run along by the polytunnel. So Chris has done a fabulous job on those. We've still got more to do. This bed is now completely clear, and I'm just toying as to whether I'm going to use it or cover it I've managed to weed these 2 beds completely, and I've covered them with card. And then that bed at the bottom, I'm over halfway weeding, and then I will cover that as well. And we've started mowing across at the house, and we often either throw the cuttings across for the chickens to scratch, or we put them directly into the compost heap. But this year I'm going to use them to mulch over the card, and these beds will be dormant this summer, and I'll start using those again in the spring. But I may or may not plant into this one, haven't decided. The flower bed, we've got a few bits and bobs going in there, but it still needs quite a lot of weeding, and the strawberries and raspberries are absolutely intertangled with weeds, but we're getting there. So before this rain comes down, let's get back into the polytunnel. So I've already shown you what's on the staging here, and then if we go all the way around, that was a long way of doing it. I've got potatoes here, some strawberries that actually I found whilst weeding the beds. They'd self-seeded, so I've rescued them and popped them in here. The sweet peas that I put in here are looking absolutely awful, but hey ho, they'll do what they do. I just brought these in for some cheer. So these are some oxeye daisies that I had outside. I've just brought them in for a bit of cheer. They are a bit gangly, but they're very pretty. More potatoes in the corner there. The round courgette plant here, which is looking lovely. And we have had some flowers on that, so I'm hoping to form some courgettes. Now in this bed, I'd sown carrots and parsnips. Good germination on the carrots, and I'm not entirely sure what I've been doing, because can you see they're all kind of clumped in the middle, and you may notice a bit of a theme as we go around. No idea what's gone on there. That looks like one parsnip, the rest haven't germinated, but as I've said before, this year I'm not re-sowing, I'm not getting hung up on things. What grows grows, and what doesn't. Here, this bed's not doing great, so I'm not sure what's going on with this soil. So the 2 dwarf variety of beans that I put in over there have just died, as has one of these purple peacock beans, and the other one's doing okay, but it's not looking great. Now when you look at that compared to the ones that went in at the same time over here, which are Madeira maroon, yes, look how much better they're looking, and they were all sown at the same time and moved at the same time. So clearly there's something in this bed that they're not liking. So I shall do some investigations there. Here we've got the peas, the alderman peas, the first sowing, and I'll be honest with you, I hadn't given them as much help as I should, and you know what peas are like, until they can grab onto something they tend to kind of just sit there going ugh. So I've given them something now to grab on, and hopefully they'll start to shoot up. Over here I've got my tomatoes, some more chard. That is actually a Greek Gigantes bean, the only one that germinated, and it's just in this pot at the moment, so I need to find it a place. A couple of things that didn't germinate over there. I can't even see from here what they are. Some sprouts that never came, more of the onions that never came, and basil that didn't germinate. I'll show you the basil in a minute. And that's just a little pot of chives that I've set to one side for my friend Hattie. And I do actually have here some pumpkin and squash, so I need to find a place for those. And let's move over to the long bed. Now you'll remember I sort of in desperation really put my onion sets that had been sitting in trays, I put some of them in here, and they just look awful, and I think rather than wasting that space on onions that are probably not going to come to much, I'm going to pull those out. I have also got here, I did 2 rows of the leek, and 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 that are remaining. Is it worth growing 5 leek? I'm not sure, and I think this bed space may be better used for something else, so again I may just pull those up. Here I had put a purple sprouting broccoli at the back. It just didn't do, it died, but in hindsight I think that's a good thing, because I think it just would have been too tall in here. The yellow chard at the back is looking awful, but the peppermint chard here and the lucullis chard are looking really, really good. And again, in hindsight, I probably could have spaced them out if I'd realised I wasn't going to have as much over there. And then we've got a kale plant there, just a curly kale, dwarf curly kale. And then here we've got, I sowed some lettuce along here. They have not germinated. These are some of the beetroot, and again, can you see what I was talking about with the carrots? They're all just clumped in the middle. I really don't know quite what I've been up to, but you know, they'll do. I'll probably thin a few out, but beetroot do quite like to grow in little clumps, and they're the Chioggia, I'm thrilled that they've germinated because they are my absolute favourite. But on the other side, I think they were Burpees Golden, they just haven't germinated. So lots of ups and downs. And then across here, now I'd sown into here perpetual spinach, and that clearly is not perpetual spinach. And what I think that is I grew mustard leaves in here last year, and I think they're just volunteer mustard leaves, so they can stay there, but they are not perpetual spinach. And then this here is some basil. And the other thing that didn't germinate was my lamb's lettuce, which is disappointing because I wanted that for Victor the tortoise, but that's okay, we can forage other things, and I may sow some other bits and bobs just for Victor, because by now we've normally got quite an abundance for him. So what I want to prioritise today is getting the tomatoes in, and I'm going to put them back in the bed I grew them in last year. I was planning on only growing the bush variety, but again, I've grown what I had this year. If you have been following me, you'll remember in a previous video I've just gone through the seeds that I've got rather than buying. So what I'm going to do is, I used last year these supports, and I'm going to do the same again this year, and I'm simply going to top them and just grow, you know, once they get to this height I will crop them off, and I did that fairly successfully last year until I let them get out of control. Now they're probably going to do the same again this year, but the plan is just to support with these canes and not let them turn into huge vines, and just grow just a few cordons on each one. And again, I will be cramming them in quite tightly. Now I know there's always a risk of doing that, but I did it last year and I got away with it. So here in the polytunnel I always have both doors open, and of course I've got my solar powered fan, and I really think that's what makes a huge difference. Don't want to tempt fate, but to not getting those sorts of diseases that are from leaves touching each other and the damp humid conditions. Because I keep that really good airflow, it generally works. So let's hope it works this year. So, having a little breather, finishing my coffee, which is a little bit lukewarm, I have to say, borderline cold, but hey, it's coffee. I'm really pleased with what I've got done. So you'll see that I have put in the cobra beans and I've crammed them in. I just put them all in, and then, you know, that's just going to hopefully climb. They're going to climb up over those bean arches. I've just crammed as many in as I could. I think there's 6 on each side. I've also added to the 2 Madeira maroon plants that I'd already put in. I've put another 3 in there. So what's that? 3, 4, 5 in there. I've taken out the purple peacock that wasn't doing brilliantly, and I've risked, big risk, putting the Greek Gigante in there next to the other purple peacock. I'm really hoping that whatever the purple peacock that died didn't like and those dwarf beans didn't like isn't going to kill off my Greek Gigantes. But you know what? I've still got some saved seed, and I can always have another bash next year, or chuck some more in, even if it's just to grow and save seed again to have another bash next year. I've cleared out the onion and the leek, so there's some space in that bed, and I took out the chard that wasn't doing brilliantly. So I'm really getting on now, and now I just need to have a little think about what's going where. And I think I'm going to use the bed that's clear that I haven't put cardboard over. I think I'm just going to fill that with the brassicas. So I've got various kales, there's some cabbages, purple sprouting broccoli. So there's quite a lot of brassicas that could go into that bed, and then I can put my brassica netting over the top, and obviously then just make sure that I'm keeping on top of the slug patrol as well. So I'm just going to sit and finish my cup of coffee, and I'm going to end this video here. I'm actually waiting on a delivery, which is quite important. It's my migraine medication that I inject every month, so I really need to keep an eye out. It comes refrigerated and I have to sign it in and get it straight into the fridge, and we're getting due to that time now, so I really don't want to miss that. So I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for supporting me. I hope you can see that progress is finally being made, and honestly I feel so different for switching my mindset, tackling things differently and asking for help.